This vehicle here is BYD's Great White Hope, and it's not a shark, it's a Sealion, the Sealion 7. It's another vehicle in their Ocean series, and it's named after another sea creature, but this time it's the 7, and it is a mid-sized crossover electric SUV, unlike the 6, that's a plug-in hybrid, mid-sized normal SUV, and a little bit frumpy. This is not frumpy, this is kind of coupe-like, and it is very much aimed directly at Tesla's Model Y. I'm Nathan Ponchard, and this is Chasing Cars.
Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car.
Brought to you by
Budget Direct.
While this Sealion 7 here clearly looks inspired by other BYD models, the car that it's most closely representative to in terms of its styling cues and what's under the skin is the Seal sedan. Although this Sealion 7 here has its own completely unique look, and I actually think it looks really handsome. It has cool LED lights here, same on both models. The only way you can tell the difference between the two, this being the all-wheel drive Performance, is that this car has these 20-inch wheels with Michelin Pilot Sport EV tyres. The lower spec model, which is rear-wheel drive, has 19s. Otherwise, they're the same. It's just the shape of the car with these hips on the back. It's 1920 millimeters wide. It actually is 4830 long, but it is on a huge 2930 millimeter wheelbase. And so when we get inside the Sealion 7, we'll see one of the greatest aspects of that, and that is its rear seat. One thing it does definitely have going for it though is that it doesn't look anywhere near as frumpy as the Model Y. It's actually quite sleek and it has this really nice shape to it. Unfortunately though, it only comes in 4 colors. I don't know why BYD doesn't try for a few more. This is Atlantis Grey, which looks blue to me. There's also white, black, and a shark grey, but they're all kind of tasteful, not too putrid. Does have pop-out door handles, but doesn't have frameless windows. I think the general styling of it is really quite distinctive, and I think it gives the Sealion 7 a lot more dynamic presence than the rather mumsy Sealion 6. From rear on, the Sealion 7 kind of continues that slightly athletic theme. In fact, I think it looks a little bit inspired like a Porsche Cayenne Coupe, and that's certainly no bad thing, yet it's not derivative of other cars. It very much has its own look, and the details here are pretty nice too. This little sort of shiny black spoiler here, these tail lights that peel off on the edge with this sort of fishnet stocking pattern. It also has sequential blinkers in it. It does have quite a lot of badge work here. We've got EV all drive here. We've got BYD written twice, Sealion 7 and 4.5S, because this is the performance model and its 0 to 100 claim is 4.5 seconds. And at least it doesn't have build your dreams written on its bum, because just no. Inside here, 500 litre boot, a 2-level floor, but the difference is only that much between the 2 levels. The split fold seats go almost flat, and it also has a 58 litre frunk and a standard electric tailgate on both models. Some of BYD's interiors, particularly the Atto 3, have been extremely challenging. I like their bravery, but I don't necessarily enjoy being inside them. Whereas this Sealion 7, I think, really takes it to the next level. It's still not completely conventional. These sort of buttresses that come off the end of the dash here that are a little bit of an architectural folly. They don't really do much other than kind of sit there. I suppose you can hold on to them when you shut the door, but it does give you a little ergonomic bit where you can hold the door handle here and open it like that and pull it like that. So it does actually work. And you get used to them after a while and they're not so ugly. The rest of it is actually really quite nice. Even the rotating screen in the center here, I actually leave it in landscape because it's so big, it's 15.6 inches, that I'd rather look at it that way than have it kind of portrait and sticking up above the dashboard. Most of what it displays is actually really quite logical and ergonomic. Much of it makes sense. I think the only real failure in terms of one of the things that it does is when you try and turn off the driver attention monitoring, you have to go into vehicle and then go into in-cabin perception. And it says driver monitoring system, fatigue driver warning, distraction driver warning. In-cabin perception. It doesn't make any sense, and it's way down. It's the last thing that you've got. So other than that, it's pretty good. It has wireless smartphone mirroring. It has a 12-speaker Dyn Audio stereo, which is really strong. all of the equipment in this 63,990 Performance is also shared in the 54,990 Premium rear-wheel drive. Apart from the steering wheel heating, the rear seat heating, and the 20-inch wheels, everything else is shared. And that includes stuff like this sort of perforated and sort of slightly quilted leather-faced seating. The center part is proper leather, and it's the same on the back seat as well. A lot of the finishes in here, they're not super high level, but they are still quite nice. Like the top of the dash here is stitched. This bit here feels a little bit like wetsuit material, so it looks like suede, but it feels like a wetsuit. And that sort of runs across here and runs into the buttresses on the doors. We have this sort of suede pad here where we have two positions for phones, although the 50-watt cooled wireless charger is on the left-hand side for left-hand drive, as is the USB-C, USB-A positioning. It's on the left here. You can really only reach it by going around, and the driver's door mirror is set up for left-hand drive, so you can't turn it as far out as you can. They're really the only things that portray that this vehicle wasn't originally designed to be a right-hand drive vehicle. The other complaint I have is sort of about the bottle storage. Like, given that this is essentially a sea creature, its hydration storage is not great. This camping bottle doesn't fit anywhere. It doesn't really fit in there. It kind of wedges in. You can kind of bend it into place in the doors, but not really. I can fit coconut water in the door though, so that's something. And we also have this huge tray under here. So if this doesn't work, then you can just chuck that down in there, and that is enormous, and also still lined with suede, which is nice. The driving position is actually really quite sumptuous. The driver has an 8-way electric seat. The passenger only has 6-way. So this doesn't have proper height adjustment. It's only at the back of the seat. Whereas this, you can do cushion under thigh tilt. You've got a electric lumbar on the side here, and just a generally pretty nice view. Reasonable to hold steering wheel, easy controls, easy column stalks. All of this stuff really works quite well. The pedestal mirrors on the outside leave a gap with this little baby window here where you can see out that way. And just the general mise-en-scène of the interior is just really quite pleasant. So combined with the refinement of the car and the comfort and room and the really quite strong stereo, this is actually a fairly premium experience for a not so steep price. Where the Sealion 7 really does stride ahead is in here. It is huge. It's palatial. This back seat is like being in a limousine. The floor is completely flat, and I do love these pressed-in floor mats, by the way. They are plastic, the BYD ones, but they fit amazingly well. This view here, the seat comfort here, the proper leather that we're sitting on. We have 2-position seat heating, both here in this Performance model. The view around these tombstone seats in the front and through the full glass roof here with an electric sunblind is so much nicer than in a Model Y, say. It has a lot of room too, but this is sumptuous and very natural in its view. It's just a really, really nice place to be. I've got heaps of under thigh support here. I've got tons of leg room. I do still a little bit splayed, but it's just so comfortable. A bit of support around the back here. The buttresses continue in the doors here where it's got the grab and the door handle, which actually again works pretty well. Can't put much in the door pocket here, but never mind. You do have little phone holders in the back of the front seats here. And even though all of this is vinyl, it's actually still really quite nice. We have 2 air vents in the center here, and this seat, this is my normal seating position, and it's already so comfortable. But if I want to recline it, it goes all the way back to here. And it's just absolutely amazing. You could be like this in the back of this Sealion 7, being driven along by someone very smoothly for many hours. While both Sealion 7 models have an 82.6 kilowatt hour usable battery size, what sets the Performance apart is that it has 2 electric motors, so meaning all-wheel drive, the rear motor much more powerful than the front, and the overall outputs being 390 kilowatts, 690 newton meters. In comparison, the rear drive one has 230 kilowatts and 380 newton meters. So this vehicle here drops the 0 to 100 time by 2.2 seconds. So 4.5 to 100 is actually really strong, and the performance is addictively excellent. Yet even though it's so powerful, it doesn't make it difficult to drive. It's actually really quite smooth. And so the throttle progression, just driving it around in normal mode, I haven't really driven it in eco, even sport doesn't make it too touchy. It all seems to blend really nicely with the way this BYD drives. Now flattening it, it's really quite quick. And going to this corner here, you can feel the tail move around in the car. Actually, the screen just turned itself to portrait while we went through that corner, so that's nice. We'll put Apple CarPlay on and it'll go back to landscape as it does. And turning into the corners too, it definitely does quite a lot of shuffling between the front and rear electric motors to give it this slightly unusual feel. It almost moves weight onto the back end like it's the passive rear steer in an old French front-wheel drive car. So there we go, onto the back again. It sort of has this movement where it's not rollover steer, but it's sort of there. It's a little bit like an old Citroen Zara or the Citroen ZX that it was related to a lesser extent, Peugeot 306, and they are not unflattering comparisons. Those cars were great to drive around corners, and to a baggier, less precise degree, the Sealion 7 has an element of that. It just isn't necessarily natural or as fluent as it could be, but it is pleasant, and it does make this 2,340 kilo electric crossover SUV surprisingly capable in corners and actually surprisingly fun to punt. Here we go, into a corner. It's just super easy. The steering, I just drive it around in comfort. It doesn't have tons of feel, but it actually is reasonably consistently weighted. It's not too light, not too heavy. It doesn't have that super sharp turning off straight ahead that the Tesla Model Y does. And some people really don't like that. It makes the Teslas feel a little bit nervous and perhaps a little bit too digital. And while the BYD Sealion 7 still feels kind of digital in a slightly two-dimensional way, I think the dynamics of this vehicle actually have quite a bit of character, especially combined with the excellent performance and acceleration and refinement of this powertrain. Most of the time, the safety systems seem to work pretty well too. Certainly in terms of the lane keep assistance, although it can be a little bit annoying, generally for the most part, it's not too annoying. The driver distraction monitoring is less insistent than it is in other cars, although going through the screen and hitting in-cabin perception is a little bit of a pain in the butt. There's another aspect that I'd like to bring up, and that is the regenerative braking. It's sort of like on high and on sporty, but it isn't really much. That said, the general braking of this car in terms of just the brakes are really quite progressive. They're not light switch sort of electric feeling like other EVs. They actually have a degree of natural progression and feel to them. So I suppose it doesn't really matter that the regenerative braking isn't doing all your braking in corners, because you've actually got pretty good brakes to do it for you, and they hold up really well, even in hard driving. Where the Sealion 7 starts to fall apart a little bit is in its ride. I know we have 20-inch wheels here, but I doubt the 19-inch wheels will make much of a difference. It just feels a little bit jiggly and unsettled around town, sometimes more than a little bit. It sort of can often get a little bit of a bucking motion where it's sort of like, yeah, giddy up, like a click, 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 kind of. But then when you hammer it on a country road, on bumpy roads, the body control is really quite good. The car seems to somehow become more absorbent and less perturbed by what's going on underneath, and it all seems to work pretty well. It's just still one round away from really being finessed properly. Another safety aspect worth mentioning is the rear camera and the surround rear camera. They give a brilliant view on this 15.6-inch screen here, better than I think any camera that I've really ever witnessed, and certainly brilliant for something that's sort of between 55 and 64K. It is outstanding in its clarity, in the views that you can use, and all that sort of stuff. There is one aspect of the Sealion 7 safety systems, though, that really deserves a raspberry, and that is the adaptive cruise. It's not for the distance marking of the cars in front, it is for the steering assistance that goes with it. It is terrible. It just fights against you. You try and turn the wheel a bit to the left and it fights against you, trying to make you turn right. And then it's the same the other way, and again and again. It is insistent and intolerable in the way it does it. I haven't driven it without that activated, and I actually don't know whether you can stop the steering assist from being a part of it, but it is markedly inferior to the way the regular lane assist operates. And so that is one huge flaw in the BYD finally to the charging. 82.6 kilowatt hour battery, BYD Blade 1 lithium iron phosphate, which means it can regularly be charged to 100% without losing too much battery life. It does take 32 minutes though to go from 10 to 80%, which is okay. It's not terrible, but it's certainly not class leading. Its WLTP range is 456 kilometres, which again is not terrible, but not class leading. In the driving this vehicle has done so far from new, it has done 311 kilometres, this car, and has been averaging 22 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, which translates at around 375 kilometres on a full charge, and that's not too bad considering that I have been dynamic testing it, and it has been driving around in a fairly brisk manner around town and certainly around this track here. BYD in Australia wants its popularity to reflect what it is in its home market in China, and so in 2025 the brand wants to sell 40,000 sales, which is double the 20,000 of 2024, and crucial to that is this Sealion 7. It thinks this is going to be the brand's best-selling model, and you know what, it actually deserves to be, because up until this point this is the best vehicle that BYD has done so far. It looks good, it's beautiful to sit in, it's got a really nice and reasonably ergonomic interior. Its driving ability is actually surprisingly likable, albeit a little bit flawed, but still pretty good. Its performance is excellent. Its price is pretty good. This car here is $63,990, which is around $10,000 less than its Tesla equivalent. And even though the Sealion 7 isn't as much of a driver's car as the Model Y is, it's still a really well-rounded vehicle that I think most people are really going to like. It's actually really nice to sit in and to drive. It's quiet and it's relatively comfortable. It is still one concerted round of finessing and calibration tuning away from being really good. Its ride quality is not good enough. Its steering assist on adaptive cruise is borderline terrible. But other than those things, it's actually a really good car. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think this is the best BYD model yet? What do you think of its styling? Can you see the bits of Cayenne in it that I can? Or what do you think about chasing cars? If you haven't subscribed, please do so below the video and hit the notification bell. And thanks for watching.